American Made stars Tom Cruise and is directed by Doug Liman, the guy behind Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Edge of Tomorrow, The Bourne Identity, Swingers. And this is based on the true story of Barry Seal, a pilot who ended up getting recruited by the CIA to be a drug runner in the South in the late 70s, early 80s. And from there it basically just escalates to more money, more illegal activity, and crazy stuff going on that is true. And that's the thing with like true stories, is when they're movies like this, I'm like, okay, I'll just take it. There's some artistic license, but it more or less probably all really happened. Whereas opposed to horror movies, they really embellish a lot. But like the true crime movies like this, or a lot of Martin Scorsese movies about crime, they're really fun when you're watching and you're like, that really happened, more or less. Like, it just makes it a little bit extra fun most of the time, at least when they go for the fun side. And that's what I'll say about this movie right off the top. They go for a really fun vibe with this. It takes place in the late 70s, early 80s. Much like a good Scorsese movie, Doug Liman's like, hey, let's give it some really awesome music. Let's have it be a really fun soundtrack and just give the movie a fun vibe. Yeah, it's crime and they're doing illegal stuff, but you don't feel like you're down in the dirty muckiness of crime and awful people. Like, Barry Seal seems like a very charming, if not a little bit of a sleazy guy, but he's charming, he's likable. Tom Cruise, you like the dude, and so you're just having fun watching him use his piloting skills to do a lot of drug smuggling, and it's really fun in that way. And yeah, Tom Cruise, the running man himself, he is actually a good actor when he gets the right role. Collateral was a great example of, you give that dude something really interesting to do, and he'll completely transform. And while this movie isn't quite on that level, it is a different character that I'm used to him seeing. He's usually just the pure-hearted good guy that's got no negatives to him whatsoever, maybe a little bit too cocky, and that's kind of it. Kind of vanilla characters, but it's fun because he's running and doing crazy shit with stunts. But in this, they do give him, like, he's a pilot and he wants a little more out of life, so you know what, we'll do this thing with the CIA, and it's escalating. He's like, what if I do this extra stuff on the side with some criminals? And it's like, he does some very sleazy things where it's like, if they did it wrong, he could have been very unlikable, but Tom Cruise, as an actor and as the way it's written, it's just, he's too likable. There's something where it's just like, it's fun. I'm going with the ride of like, yeah, you're kind of a bad guy in a sense, but you're just fun. You're a fun dude. And that's kind of his charm in the movies. He's good at winning people over and being so damn likable to people and being persuasive. And Tom Cruise does that really well. He always seems like a cool dude that's a little bit ahead of the game, kind of smart, honest, on top of everything, and being a good businessman. And you appreciate that too sometimes in movies. People that are good at business, even especially when it's crime. And we also got Domhnall Gleeson here as the CIA counterpart to Tom Cruise, the guy that he's working with, who like half the time seems like he's his partner in all this, and other half the time like, are you just trying to indict me and get me locked in jail? What a piece of shit. And then we got Tom Cruise's wife in the movie, played by Sarah Wright, who is a very likable performer. She's very attractive, but like her role with Tom Cruise, it was a lot more interesting than the stereotypical wife that's like, oh, I gotta lie to her about all my criminal stuff. Like, her role in the movie's better than that. And I thought her and Tom Cruise played off each other well enough. They were kind of cute as a couple, and I enjoyed them together. And it's documenting the real crime story of how he would fly to these different countries and take drugs or other things and transport them, and the way it ties in with real life events. Like, I don't know some of the things they're referencing, but I know them by name. I'm like, oh, it's that thing. That's fun. And then other things I know, like, oh, haha, I actually know that history. So that's fun when it ties into real world events. And the way they give it a real sense of place and setting, it really feels like the 70s and 80s. You feel like you're there. The time period feels very authentic. It feels like it was filmed in that time period because of what they do with the cameras. I don't know if they just added like a grainy filter onto it, but it had that gritty look from a early 80s, late 70s movie. It looked gritty and like a different type of camera, a different technology to film it, and a lot of different type of filmmaking where it was faux documentary almost in a way. I got that I was seeing a fictional, based on real life story, but the way they filmed it, it was like you're watching a documentary where you get to be around all these fun, cool things that are happening. And I will say another thing that was very refreshing about this movie was it is a crime story, and with a lot of crime movies, the real life events of this and how this guy went and the crime escalated and then there's a downward spiral and this and that and this and that. Sometimes they get very cliche because real life seems to have a pattern with criminals and where their lives go. This one, maybe just because it was the real life events that happened, but it subverted my expectations where I thought a couple times in the movie, oh, it's going to go here and whatever, I know where this is going. And it surprised me and mixed things up and was like, oh, this is refreshing. It's not the same old tired plot. It's going in new, interesting ways. And I'll credit that to real life and the movie just because it was fun and more interesting to watch it because it didn't feel so generic and same old crap. It was new and exciting and interesting. And the movie is more of an entertaining ride through this crime story that did happen, and it keeps it overall pretty light. It's a fun movie, it's a funny movie, but when it wants to dabble at times in the dark and more dramatic moments, it does really good. There was a few times where it's like you're having fun, suddenly like, oh shit, you start bracing like this is getting kind of intense. And they did it without it seeming tonally inconsistent. They weaved it pretty well into the overall movie. So it's not all fun and games. There are some good dramatic parts. And since it's based on real life, sometimes there's really nice details where it's like, yeah, that's like real, that happens. And the way it like based on true events and its roots in reality are times very entertaining and funny because you get to see certain interplayings of like what the CIA would do and what he'd have to do for them and how fucking dirty the government is at times. It's like, oh, you bastards. My only kind of flaw was that the movie, because it was so entertaining, fun, and charming, like it is light fare. It's not, even though it does have its dramatic moments, it doesn't have the weight that it perhaps should have at times, where it's like, as much as I like all the characters, I'm not really hooked into them. Like, I hope nothing bad happens, or I'm really tense for them and possibly where they're gonna go throughout the movie. Like, I like Tom Cruise, and I'd rather not have bad things happen to him. He's very entertaining, but, like, the character in the movie and all this and that's, like, I care, but I kind of don't, because it is such a lighter movie. It didn't feel like it had the weight that it perhaps should have. But maybe it was supposed to be lighter fare just because, you know, it's about planes. They need to be light to fly up in the air. I know that was bad, but the thing is, I'm gonna go to the airport, I'm gonna stand on the tarmac, and I'm gonna wait for a plane to land, and I'll make sure it runs me over, okay? I'll go do that right now. But bad jokes aside, I really did enjoy American Made. I thought it was a really fun, fresh, entertaining, charming movie. It was a great, fun time. A little bit light, could have used some more weight, some more consequences, some more gravitas and heft. But it tells a true crime story very well, very entertaining, and I was very interested in the story. It kept me very captivated, interested throughout. Like, I want to know where this is going, and I was just... That's the magic of some of these movies, is this is real stuff that's happening, so you're just like, where's this gonna go? This is cool. While this isn't the most amazing movie with deep resonating themes and drama that will stick with you forever, it's a very entertaining, enjoyable movie. So yeah, I would give American Made a B+. It's a really good time, and I dug it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Comment below, tell me what you guys thought of American Made, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.